The Bonesetter's Daughter is a novel by Amy Tan, published in 2001. The Bonesetter's Daughter is a historical family drama. The plot of the novel is in the present tense from the third-person perspective of an anonymous narrator focused on the life of Ruth Luyi Young, the protagonist. Set in late 20th century San Francisco. The narrative portion within the second part of the novel is in the past tense from the first-person perspective of Ruth Luyi Young, Ruth's mother, set about 1900 to late 1940s China. Before we discuss the important themes and symbols of the Bonesetter's Daughters, first a brief summary of the novel. The Bonesetter's Daughter is divided into three main parts. The prologue titled Truth begins in Luling's early years in China, at the age of 6. Luling's nursemaid, Precious Auntie, took her to a temple, where they prayed and burned a paper with Luling's family name on it. Now, as an elderly woman, Luling strains to recall the name on that burned paper. While asking her spirit for forgiveness, she realizes that Precious Auntie is her mother. The first part of the novel shifts to Luling's daughter, Ruth, a quiet Chinese-American woman in her mid-40s. Ruth, working as a ghostwriter in San Francisco, lives with her partner Art Kaman and his adolescent daughters, Dory and Fia. Despite her achievements, Ruth is not entirely content, yearning to write her own book but lacking confidence. She also faces doubts about her decade-old relationship with Art, as they are still unmarried. One night, unable to sleep, Ruth revisits a manuscript her mother gave her about her life in China. Ruth's busy life and limited understanding of Chinese writing have delayed her translation of the manuscript. Ruth and Luling share a tense relationship, marked by childhood conflicts and Luling's suicidal tendencies, quarrelsome nature and emerging signs of memory loss. Concerned, Ruth takes Luling to Dr. Huey, who diagnoses dementia, prompting Ruth to contemplate her childhood. Remembering a time when she communicated through writing in a wet sand tea tray with a chopstick after breaking her arm. A misunderstanding led Luling to believe Precious Auntie was trying to communicate through Ruth's handwriting, to which the young mute Ruth played along. Back in the present, during a family reunion at a restaurant at the Fountain Court restaurant, while celebrating the Full Moon Festival, Luling claims that Precious Auntie was her mother. Not the woman in the framed photograph gift, which Ruth attributes this to Luling's dementia. After 3 months, Luling's health gets worse, and Ruth has to cancel her vacation with Art to Hawaii, but Art decides to go alone. One night, Luling runs away, but she comes back unscathed, making Ruth realize how severe her mother's condition is. Auntie Jailing brings Luling to her house to give Ruth rest, who goes to Land's End, a beach near Luling's house, and thinks about her distressing childhood memories. When she returns to Luling's house to clean, she remembers Luling's suicide attempt when Ruth was 16, triggered by a harsh journal entry Ruth wrote. While cleaning, Ruth finds calligraphy papers that are part of the manuscript Luling gave her years ago. Determined to understand and better bond with her mother, Ruth decides to have the manuscript professionally translated. The second part of the novel reveals Luling's life story in her memoir. Born in 1916 near Peking village called Immortal Heart in China, Luling grew up in the Lu family, known for their ink business. Raised by Precious Auntie, her nursemaid, who communicates with gestures and writing due to facial scarring. Luling shifts to Precious Auntie's tragic past, which she discovers from a manuscript before Precious Auntie's suicide. Precious Auntie, a skilled beautiful woman raised by a widowed bonesetter healer, rejects a proposal from Chang, a deceitful man and a coffin maker by trade. She falls in love with and plans to marry baby uncle, another patient of the bonesetter and the youngest Louis' son. Chang, seeking revenge for the rejection, masked as a robber, attacks the wedding, stealing valuable dowry dragon bones used for healing practices and killing the bonesetter. Baby uncle declares to take revenge by firing his gun in the air but dies tragically on the wedding day when the startled horse kicks and kills him. The Lius take in Precious Auntie, who is mourning because her fiancé and father passed away. Precious Auntie tries to harm herself by swallowing hot ink, which leaves her mute and face scarred. The Lius find out she's going to have a baby from baby uncle. To hide the fact that she's having an illegitimate baby without being married, the Lius pretend that the baby, Luling, is theirs. Precious Auntie has to take care of Luling as a nursemaid but is not allowed to tell her that she's her real mother to not brew any scandal. As a teenager, Luling cares more about impressing her adoptive family than Precious Auntie, who is now just a nursemaid. When she gets a chance to marry Fu Nan, Chang's fourth son, Luling takes it, even though Precious Auntie warns her not to. Precious Auntie writes a letter telling Luling the truth about being her mom, but Luling doesn't read it and Precious Auntie kills herself. After her death, Luling reads the letter but it's too late. Afterwards, the Lius sent Luling to live in an orphanage by the American missionaries. There she became a teacher and married her first husband, Kai Jing. Jailing, Luling's sister, joined her at the orphanage after escaping from her marriage to Fu Nan, which happened when the Changs withdrew their proposal to Luling. World War II made life at the orphanage dangerous and Japanese soldiers captured and killed Kai Jing. Luling and Jailing managed to escape to safety in Peking. After the war, Jailing went to America with Ruth Gretoff, an American missionary. Although Jailing left Luling behind, she promised to support her when possible. Meanwhile, Luling in Hong Kong worked hard to save money for her journey to the United States. Jailing marries Edmund Young while Luling marries Edwin Young, the older brother, to emigrate to America. Luling has a daughter named Ruth but becomes a single mom when Edwin dies. While Jailing enjoys a good life, Luling faces scrapes by and can't move on from the past, haunted by what happened to Precious Auntie. The third part of the novel starts with Ruth hiring a scholar, Mr. Tang, to translate her mother Luling's manuscript. During this time, Ruth shifts in with Luling. 2 months later, Mr. Tang completes the translation, and Ruth invites him to deliver the manuscript and have dinner at Luling's house. Mr. Tang develops feelings for Luling while Luling likes Mr. Tang, and he listens attentively as she shares her life in China. After Mr. Tang leaves, Ruth reads her mother's manuscript and gains a deeper understanding of the sacrifices Luling made. Although upset about the lost years of not knowing much about each other, Ruth decides to spend the remaining time getting to know her mother. Ruth and Art also work on mending their relationship. Art offers to support Luling's stay at an assisted living facility, and Luling enjoys this new chapter in her life. She continues to spend time with Mr. Tang, who visits her regularly and takes her on weekend outings. During one museum visit, they come across an exhibit on Chinese archaeology, featuring an oracle bone resembling the ones Luling had to leave behind in China. Jailing shares the name Gu Lu Xian of Precious Auntie and Ruth finally learns her grandmother's name. The story ends with Ruth sitting at her desk, ready to write her own story. Now let's discuss the important themes and main ideas of The Bonesetter's Daughter. The theme of Withholding Truth revolves around secrets, hidden truths, unspoken feelings, and the consequences of not communicating openly while keeping secrets causes lasting pain. Precious Auntie believes she's protecting her daughter by hiding her true identity, while Luling follows the same path, thinking she shields Ruth from generational hurt. Unfortunately, keeping the truth from their daughters damages their relationships. Luling's silence about Precious Auntie, who is revealed to be her mother, and the events leading to her suicide, leaves Ruth in the dark about Luling's suffering. Luling's secrecy prevents healing and hurts both herself and Ruth. Ruth's ignorance leads to unintentional hurt, as she fails to understand Luling's experiences. Luling's past, revealed through a manuscript, uncovers secrets that she never shared with Ruth. The lack of communication about her traumatic experiences contributes to Ruth's struggles to understand her mother and their strained relationship. Ruth buys a fake pearl necklace for her mother Luling, who mistakenly believes it's valuable. Ruth, feeling ashamed, can't admit the truth. This symbolizes how a simple deception can lead to years of secrecy and difficulty in being honest. This instance also highlights how miscommunication and attempts to hide mistakes deepen the divide between them. Amy Tan explored crucial ideas of shared histories, generational anxieties, and preserving the past in The Bonesetter's Daughter. Luling's dementia diagnosis becomes a catalyst for Ruth to explore her mother's life. Nevertheless, the novel cautions against dwelling too much on the past, associating memory with curses, ghosts, and superstitions. The three female figures fear ancestral repercussions if they forget or don't atone for past wrongs. For instance, Precious Auntie believes in a family curse tied to an ancestor's bones. This fear passes down to Luling, affecting Ruth's adult life by instilling a constant fear of danger. Luling, too, lives in the past, depriving herself of guilt for mistreating Precious Auntie. The story suggests that while preserving memory is crucial, it should enhance and broaden new experiences rather than trapping individuals in stagnant pasts, hindering the chance for a happy future. In The Bonesetter's Daughter, the relationships between mothers and daughters reveal that love and conflict can coexist, and family patterns often repeat. Ruth and Luling, raised by mothers who sacrificed for them, lack knowledge of their mothers' histories, leading to a lack of appreciation for their sacrifices. In adolescence, both rebel and feel ashamed of their mothers, yet their love persists, and they later regret their actions. The conflict stems from a shared desire to protect each other, rooted in generational trauma. The novel highlights the transformative power of women's solidarity against generational trauma and social alienation, emphasizing how a lack of solidarity exacerbates these issues. Instances of shame and fear disrupt the understanding between mothers and daughters, perpetuating a cycle of pain. Ruth breaks free from this cycle by repairing her relationship with her mother, embracing their collective voices, and finding the strength to write her own story. The novel promotes a broader message of empowerment, inner strength, and personal growth when women support each other, contrasting with the detrimental effects of turning inward and yielding to conflict, insecurity, and bitterness. Opening up to vulnerability and treating each other with compassion can lead to remarkable achievements for women. In The Bonesetter's Daughter, the narrative highlights the significance of storytelling. It underscores how telling stories gives depth and meaning to one's experiences and emphasizes the value of sharing these stories to connect with others. Ruth works as a ghostwriter, turning her clients' muddled thoughts into coherent narratives. Ruth comes from a family of storytellers, notably her mother, Luling, who writes about her challenging childhood in China, hoping it will help Ruth understand their family history. Similarly, Precious Auntie shares her life struggles, revealing a significant twist: she is Luling's mother. Precious Auntie's story becomes a powerful way for her to reclaim her voice, both physically and metaphorically. Despite their different backgrounds, times, and situations, Ruth, Luling, and Precious Auntie share the same purpose in writing: bringing clarity to misunderstandings, uncovering hidden truths, and preserving what might be forgotten. The Bonesetter's Daughter illustrates how storytelling builds connections, imparts meaning, and, importantly, giving a loud voice to those silenced by gendered repression and generational trauma. The significant symbols running throughout The Bonesetter's Daughter are the ghosts, the sand tea tray, the oracle bones, and the Hawaiian pearl necklace. Ghosts represent unresolved issues and the haunting influence of the past on the present. Ghosts symbolize the difficulty of finding one's own identity. Ruth works as a ghostwriter because she lacks confidence in expressing herself and sharing her own story. Instead, she hides behind the words of other authors to feel safer. Ruth's job as a ghostwriter is hinted at by her childhood experiences, where Luling believed she could communicate with the ghost of Precious Auntie. This early connection with the supernatural foreshadows Ruth's later struggle with identity. Luling's belief that Precious Auntie's ghost is still present in her life reveals her struggle to separate her identity from the longing for her deceased mother. The trauma of learning about Precious Auntie's true identity after her suicide adds to Luling's difficulties in establishing her own sense of self. Luling's loss is intensified by the fact that she never had the chance to know her mother as her actual mother. This unfulfilled mother-daughter connection continues to haunt Luling, affecting her ability to move forward. Despite having a daughter of her own and emigrating to a foreign nation, Luling's obsession with Precious Auntie's ghost indicates her ongoing struggle to establish a new and independent identity. The ghosts of the past linger, making it challenging for Luling to fully embrace her present life. The tea tray in the novel represents the impact of generational trauma and how it can influence a person's life. When Ruth, at 6 years old, loses her voice after breaking her arm, Luling gives her a tea tray filled with wet sand to trace letters. This echoes Luling's communication with the mute Precious Auntie using a chalkboard. Ruth's tea tray becomes a symbol of her complex relationship with her voice. Although she regains the ability to speak, Ruth chooses silence after noticing that Luling treats her differently when she doesn't talk. Luling's approval becomes a reward for Ruth's silence, shaping her understanding of communication and connection. The tea tray incident, where Luling cooks unhealthy food in response to Ruth's spelling burgr, illustrates how silence is rewarded and bluntness is punished. Luling's actions inadvertently teach Ruth that avoiding punishment can be achieved through convincing lies, creating a lasting impact on Ruth's behavior. The tea tray also symbolizes Ruth's strive to connect with her mother. When Luling believes Precious Auntie is communicating through Ruth's writing on the tray, Ruth pretends to be Precious Auntie, showing her desire to understand and make her mother happy. However, this deceiving approach highlights Luling's aloof and distant personality. Bones and the Bonesetter's Daughter symbolize a connection to the past, representing that where remnants of people and events linger even after death. The petrified bones were first mistaken for dragon bones are revealed to be those of prehistoric Peking man. The presence of bones in living bodies, highlighted in Ruth's childhood accident where she breaks her arm, symbolizes strength and restoration. Despite the agony of a broken bone, proper care can lead to recovery. The dragon bone is a symbol of precious Auntie's ties to her birth family and her ancestral pride. Unable to openly acknowledge Luling as her own, the official lineage of her family is at risk of fading away. However, by gifting Luling the oracle bone, precious Auntie makes sure that Luling maintains a connection to her maternal family. Although the family might not fully grasp the bone's true significance, they instinctively recognize its value. Precious Auntie expresses her love for Luling and her family pride through the meaningful gesture of passing the oracle bone to Luling, highlighting the enduring importance of their heritage. Thus, the bone becomes a tangible link to the past, ensuring Luling's connection to her roots. On a Hawaii trip with her partner Art, Ruth forgets Luling's birthday. Trying to make amends, she rewraps low-priced Tahiti-style glass pearls, calling them nothing much. Luling, thinking Ruth is being modest, sees them as priceless. Luling mistakenly believes it's valuable, and Ruth, feeling ashamed, can't bring herself to admit the truth. This reflects a pattern of dishonesty in their relationship, as Ruth struggles to be truthful, possibly influenced by Luling's own lack of honesty. The necklace, though not valuable, becomes a powerful symbol. Ruth's initial failure to tell the truth makes honesty increasingly difficult over the years. If she had been honest from the start, her shame might have lessened. The necklace shows how lies gain power when kept secret for too long.